Is Canada still the land of the maple leaf, or is it turning into something else entirely? In Brampton, more than 73% of residents are now visible minorities, with Indian communities making up the overwhelming share. In Surrey, that figure has climbed past 60%, transforming entire neighborhoods overnight. Canadians are asking the question nobody dares to say out loud: is Canada becoming India overnight? Stay tuned, because the numbers don't lie. Chapter 1. How Canada's identity is changing. The transformation of Canadian cities like Brampton and Surrey has been nothing short of staggering. Brampton alone now reports that nearly 6 out of every 10 households speak Punjabi or Hindi at home, while English and French, Canada's official languages, are in decline in these regions. This isn't just a statistic, it's visible in everyday life. Shop signs, billboards, and even public service posters are written in languages many Canadians cannot read, leaving them feeling alienated in their own neighborhoods. Major festivals, once considered cultural exchanges, now dominate the city calendar. Diwali parades attract hundreds of thousands, shutting down streets for entire days, while traditional Canadian events like Canada Day or even Remembrance Day often struggle to gather modest turnouts. Long-time residents feel pushed to the sidelines as their cultural milestones fade into the background. Schools mirror this demographic shift. In Peel region, more than 70% of students come from South Asian backgrounds. Teachers adjust school events and lesson plans accordingly, but Canadian parents privately express concern that their children are growing up more connected to Indian culture than Canadian traditions. They worry that symbols of Canadian identity, the maple leaf, the anthem, the history, are fading from daily life. Public spaces tell the same story. Grocery stores are stocked with imported goods. Entire plazas cater to a single community, and even local malls lean heavily into cultural branding. For many Canadians who have lived in Brampton and Surrey for decades, the feeling is unmistakable. The Canada they once knew is slipping away at lightning speed. Chapter 2. Jobs and housing crisis. Locals left behind. Jobs are supposed to be the foundation of opportunity, but in Brampton and Mississauga, they've become a source of division. Surveys show that 40% of Canadian-born applicants believe they've been unfairly passed over for jobs in favor of less qualified candidates chosen through insider networks. Behind the scenes, job postings are often filled before they're even advertised, leaving outsiders with no chance. The stories are heartbreaking. Canadians who dedicated 10, 15, even 20 years to companies are suddenly restructured out of their roles, only to watch younger, less experienced hires replace them within weeks. For new Canadian graduates, the situation is even more dire. Despite investing $25,000, $40,000 in post-secondary education, they face rejection after rejection, while jobs circulate quietly within private networks. Housing compounds the crisis. The average detached home in Brampton is now $1.1 million, while Surrey's average sits at $1.2 million. On an average Canadian salary of around $60,000 a year, home ownership is mathematically impossible without foreign capital or inheritance. Families that once dreamed of buying a house are now locked into permanent rental cycles. But even renting offers no escape. Landlords, taking advantage of high demand, cram 8 to 10 tenants into small basement units and still charge $2,200 or more for a 2-bedroom suite. Families are forced to share space with strangers, living in unsafe and overcrowded conditions while their paychecks vanish into rent. For ordinary Canadians, both jobs and housing, once the promise of a better life, now feel like doors slammed shut. Chapter 3. Cultural clashes. Whose Canada is it? Canada's multiculturalism was meant to foster balance, but in Brampton and Surrey, it increasingly feels like cultural replacement. With 65% of Peel region's population identifying as South Asian, public spaces, festivals, and media reflect one dominant culture. Streets buzz with Bollywood music. Entire radio stations broadcast exclusively in Punjabi, and malls advertise products that leave Canadian-born shoppers feeling excluded. Schools reflect this imbalance too. Fewer than 30% of Brampton schools now hold standalone Remembrance Day ceremonies. Instead, they are merged with multicultural assemblies, where Canadian history feels like a footnote. Parents quietly voice concerns that their children are growing up knowing more about foreign festivals than about Canadian heritage. Public tensions are rising. Noise complaints from festivals have doubled in the last decade. Zoning disputes for religious centres spark heated debates, and social media feeds are filled with polarized arguments. Many Canadians who raise concerns are labelled intolerant, silenced not by fact, but by fear of backlash. Instead of celebrating diversity, many feel Canada has crossed into imbalance. The maple leaf, once a unifying symbol, is being overshadowed by a reality that doesn't reflect the values Canadians thought they were building together. Chapter 4. Fraud and Scam. Epidemic. Brampton is now labelled by many as the fraud capital of Canada, with Peel region logging over 10,000 fraud cases annually. Experts suggest the real number is far higher, as many victims never come forward out of shame. Fake immigration consultants charge desperate newcomers $5,000, $20,000 for fraudulent paperwork, only to disappear once paid. Families are devastated, losing years of savings. Housing scams are just as rampant, with renters handing over $3,000 deposits for apartments that don't exist. Seniors are targeted mercilessly. Phone scams pretending to be CRA officers or law enforcement convince elderly victims to hand over thousands of dollars in fear. Nationally, these scams drain over $100 million annually, with Brampton consistently ranking among the worst-hit cities. Even international students are exploited. Agencies charge $500 to $1,000 placement fees for non-existent jobs. Those who do find work are often paid under the table at rates well below minimum wage, but fear of losing their visas keeps them silent. This is not just petty theft, it is organized industrial-scale fraud. And with police underfunded and overwhelmed, most perpetrators face little to no consequence. Chapter 5. Car theft, out of control. Car theft has turned Brampton and Surrey into epicenters of crime. Ontario alone reports more than 10,000 stolen vehicles annually, with Brampton at the top. Surrey adds thousands more. Vehicles vanish from driveways in less than 120 seconds, stolen by gangs using relay devices that clone key fob signals. Luxury SUVs, trucks and sedans are prime targets, often shipped overseas within days. But even modest vehicles are not safe, stolen for parts or resale in underground markets. Entire neighborhoods wake up to find multiple cars gone in a single night. The financial fallout is brutal. Brampton drivers now pay an average of $2,700 a year in insurance, the highest in Canada. Families with no claims or tickets are still punished simply because of their postal code. For working-class Canadians, car ownership, once a basic necessity, is becoming unaffordable. Surveillance videos show thieves working with military-like precision, moving in groups, disabling alarms, and vanishing in minutes. For many families, the theft of a car means more than lost property. It means lost jobs, missed school, and the constant fear that they'll be targeted again. Chapter 6. Leaders silent on the crisis. Despite the growing crisis, political leaders stay silent. Instead, they recycle slogans like, "Diversity is our strength," ignoring the realities on the ground. Fraud, job favoritism, cultural clashes and skyrocketing crime rarely make it into campaign speeches. In Peel region, 70% of residents say they no longer trust their local leaders to protect their interests. When Canadians file discrimination complaints, they're brushed aside. When they ask for housing solutions, they receive half measures. When they call for action on car theft, they're told to install cameras and hope for the best. Police forces admit they are overwhelmed. Fraud cases pile up, car theft investigations stall, and citizens are left without protection. Canadians feel betrayed, not just by criminals, but by the very people elected to defend them. The silence is louder than the crisis itself. It signals to ordinary Canadians that their struggles are politically inconvenient and that their voices no longer matter. Chapter 7. What Canada's future could look like. If these trends continue, the Canada of tomorrow will be unrecognizable. Home prices could soar another 20% within 5 years, leaving entire generations of Canadians locked out of ownership. Insurance premiums could break $3,500 annually, making car ownership a luxury only for the wealthy. Job markets will continue to tighten, with over half of roles filled by closed cultural networks, shutting out Canadian graduates who play by the rules. Fraud, already draining hundreds of millions annually, will continue to grow unchecked. Culturally, Canadian traditions risk near erasure. Within a generation, young Canadians may grow up more connected to Bollywood films and Diwali celebrations than to the Maple Leaf or Canada Day. Once erased, those traditions will not return. Economically, the exodus will grow. Already, 1 in 3 Canadian graduates admit they are considering leaving the country for better opportunities abroad. If this brain drain accelerates, Canada will lose not just culture, it will lose its future. Chapter 8. A warning to all Canadians. Brampton and Surrey are not isolated, they are warnings. Fraud spreads across city lines. Car theft gangs expand wherever the profits lead them. Job favoritism infects industries far beyond Peel or British Columbia. What's happening in these cities today could be happening nationwide tomorrow. This is not about rejecting immigration or diversity. It's about fairness, safety, and survival of the Canadian way of life. Canadians must act before the Maple Leaf becomes nothing more than a memory, a flag with no meaning, waving over a country that no longer resembles the one it once was. The warning is clear: protect Canada now or risk losing it forever. If you found this eye-opening, smash the like button, share this video so more Canadians know the truth, and subscribe for more hard-hitting stories the media won't touch. Comment below. Do you think Canada is losing its identity? Let's talk about it.